In this video, I complete the rough-in wiring for the basement bar and brewery, and that's coming up next. How's it going? My name's Brian. I'd like to welcome you to another video. On this channel, we do how-to videos, product reviews, and we're doing a bar and brewery build right now. So if that interests you, or brew days, consider subscribing, and if you do, don't forget to click that bell so you won't miss a video when it comes out. All right, welcome back to the basement brewery build. We're in the process of getting the brewery done here in the basement. And today I'm actually going to be doing the wiring for the walls. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing, and I'll kind of explain some things along the way, just kind of general stuff that I'm doing. Just real quickly, I wanted to show you a couple of things. One of the things I used to do when I worked for an electrical contractor was you can use your hammer for a height guide for your plugs. Standard size hammer, not a framing hammer, but just a standard hammer. If you don't believe me, go try it in your house. You probably find your plugs are about the same distance from the floor as the top of the handle when you set the head straight on the floor. On the boxes, just a real quick note here, on the boxes there's these guides. Those hold the box about a ½ inch out from the wall, from the stud, so that they'll stick out through the drywall when you get it put on there. But I'm gonna get busy with drilling some holes, and this is kind of maybe a little overkill, but this is what I used whenever I was at an electrical contractor. It's got a screw on the end and a big boring bit, so it makes quick work of the studs and gets you through there. So I've got 12-2 for the 20 amp circuits and 14-2 for the 15 amp circuits. Got some breakers and whatnot as well. Double space breakers, so that I can put 2 circuits in the same amount of space in the box as one breaker. So we're gonna get going on that, and dropping circuit breakers, so I hope it didn't break anything. But I will give you guys some updates as we go along, and we'll get it done. Alright, so I just drilled a second set of holes in here for the 12-2 connection for the 220 amp circuits. I'm just going to run 2 wires, and one thing about that too is I kind of estimated the measurement of the 12-2 and cut it to length a little bit long, and then I'm going to pull them both at the same time. And the idea behind that is getting them through the holes at the same time. If I pull one, then the other one, every time I pull on that other wire is going to generate heat and possibly damage the jacket on the wire. So that's why I'm going to pull both of them at the same time. So I'm going to get that going and keep going. So I just wanted to talk really quickly about terminating the wires at the box. This is like a fiberglass box. It'd be something that I would consider plastic. But as far as the amount of wire you should leave out, you should leave 6 inches outside of the box. So I'll go ahead and cut both of these wires off. And that's just so if you ever have to trim a wire or whatever, you have enough wire to be able to get in there and do that. Putting them in the box, these are fiberglass, you can generally just kind of knock out some of this material here and put the wires through there. Slide those through one at a time. Now with your wires, you want to staple them, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, for a metal box it's like almost 12 inches, for a plastic box like this one, I usually do it no more than like 6 inches away in this particular case. Okay, so now when you have your wires in there, you want to make sure that you staple them on the flat. You don't want to staple them on the end, if you will. So when you get them in there, get your staple. Make sure you're less than 6 inches away from the box. Get it started. Make sure they're nice and flat. And basically, you don't want to get it so they're super tight. It's going to kind of hold them. And then you can just take the excess wire, fold it up in the box until after you get the drywall and everything on there, and then you can strip the insulation, strip the wires, and you are good to go. You don't need anything holding them in the wall because they're supported fine, but you definitely do want to staple within close proximity to the box like that. One more tip for you on the wiring. I just wanted to kind of talk to you real quick about when you have a switch for a light and you have the hot or power wire coming into the box, and then you have the wire that runs out to the light. You need to know which one of those is the actual hot wire so that when you hook up your switch, you know what's what and don't have it reversed. So so you're having the switch wired upside down, because then you got to take it apart, blah blah blah. So what I do is actually I will take and put either a red mark, or I think, I don't know if you can see that or not, but put a red piece of electrical tape or like a red marker on it and mark it on there, and then that way I know what the hot wire is when it comes in, and then this is the actual out to the light. So it's just something to kind of help you when you get, because when you have the drywall on, you can't see all the wires in the wall. So just a quick tip for you, another thing to be aware of or maybe use to make your job a little bit easier. One more very important tip, and I don't care if you're doing the drywall, if someone else is doing the drywall, whatever, do not leave this part out, because it is very important that you complete this step. There are plates, and they're basically cable protectors, and they have like a little tack in them, if you will. Any place that the wire, like I've got the wire running up through here, any place that the wire goes through a stud, whether it's horizontal or vertical or anything, any kind of passage through a stud at all, you've got to nail one of these things on. You got to put it on right up there like that, and then what that does is that protects any kind of drywall screws or anything going through. And I don't care if you got it drilled all the way at the back. Somebody could use a long drywall screw and still hit the wire. So do not leave those out. They're very cheap insurance. You got to put those on. So there's your tip. All right, so you saw day one. Day two of the wiring, I didn't really film a whole lot. I mean, there's really not a lot to see with wiring as far as things go. I showed a few things here and there along the way that you should or shouldn't do or whatever. I'm gonna go through and just kind of show you all the circuits that I ran, and what I did and what my thought process is on it. And then of course, like I said, check your codes, all that stuff, to make sure that what you're doing is proper. But today is day three, and I'm pretty much done, with the exception of a few things that I need to get drywall up so that I can wire the rest of the lights around the perimeter of the room so I can see what I'm doing, and because I don't want to have a bunch of live circuits with wire nuts and stuff. But anyways, I digress on that. So I'm gonna grab the camera off the tripod and let's take a look at what I have done, and I'll show you a few things here and there along the way that I think are probably best practices, and that were the way I was taught. So let's check that out. All right, so starting back over here, I've got this circuit here that you see, and it's coming here. I won't pull any of these wires into the fuse or breaker box until after I get everything all wired up so that I don't have any live wires hanging out. So we got the 14.2 running, and it runs all of these plugs. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plugs, and then that is pretty much it for that circuit. Actually, that TV up there is on a separate circuit. So just kind of a quick note on that is that you can kind of calculate your circuits at 1.5 amps each, and you never want to load your circuit more than 80% of whatever its load is. So if it's a 15 amp circuit, you know, just calculate that times 80%, which I think is about 12 amps, 10 or 12 amps. And just make sure you don't exceed that with the number of plugs that you have. You can have infinite number of plugs really, but if you're going to be plugging things into them that you know is going to draw more amperage than just a normal device, then you want to kind of back off on the number of outlets that you have. As far as lighting goes, kind of the same way. All my lighting is on pretty much one circuit with the exception of like the bar area here. And that's one of those things where you can kind of calculate how many lights you're going to have, how many watts they're going to have, and you can divide the watts by volts and come up with your amperage on that. All my lights are LEDs, so they're very, very low wattage. I think the highest wattage one is like 11 or 12 watts, so it's not much. I mean, I'm not worried about, you know, overloading the circuit on the lighting as far as that goes. So let's take a look at some more of it. Since we're talking about the lighting, let's kind of discuss that real quick. So I'm going to have one of my fixtures here in the entryway, and then I've got perimeter fixtures, like one here, one over here, one up inside of here, and then one over here, and then also, that's bright, one right in there. Now all those lights, the fixture, the perimeter lights, and then those 4 lights you just saw me pointing to there, those are all on one circuit. And the idea behind those is they're going to be dimmable. One thing too about lighting I just kind of wanted to touch on, make sure that you kind of make a method to your madness on that. If you notice, this light is here, and I was going to put the other lights down the center here, but my bar is actually going to come out into the room a little bit right there, so I don't want to have it shining down right on one person, you know, like right on top of their head. So if you look, the line of the lights is right here, and then if you kind of flip back around, it's going to line up exactly with that light bulb there. So it might not make sense, but once you see the lights turned on, then it'll make sense. The same way with this here, I lined up this light and then the same light, you know, position up there, same thing up there, same thing with these. These are all lined up. So, you know, make them make sense. I go into places a lot of times and I see lights just kind of haphazardly thrown up, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. So now the bar lighting, I have it run on another circuit here separately, and this circuit is going to control like 4 hanging down lights that are going to actually be up here, one here, one here, one there, and then one right here. So it'll kind of light up the perimeter of the bar, and you'll see whenever I get all that done. But and kind of following that same practice, you can kind of see here what I did was I blocked out off of that center beam so that I could line this up with that one and have them all in a line. So if someone's standing over there looking back this way, they're all lined up, and it makes sense. When you look down there, you can kind of see them all lined up with each other. So make it aesthetic, you know. I mean, it's one of those things that I like to try to do quite a bit if I do any kind of wiring like that. So then I've got the fridge, and then I've got this little pigtail thing here, and that's going to be so I can run around the perimeter of the bar. I've got the 2 kegerators that are going to go in the bar over here, so I want to have some wire so I can begin wiring that. I want to put some plugs on the outside of the bar with the USB ports in them, and then also have some underbar lighting so that I can see what I'm doing there. And then that's pretty much that. And then I've got my mechanical area, got a light there, and then we have cats, so we're gonna put the cat boxes back in this area. And I put a couple lights, you know, want to have this really well lit. Plus, if you need to do any kind of service work for your AC, and that's the other thing too, when you do this kind of finishing, make sure you leave enough room. I mean, because if you can see, I got a lot of room here between the mechanicals and the wall, so you can work. And then likewise over here, I've heard too many stories about people having to cut a wall out in their basement because they made everything too tight. So just kind of take that in mind. All right, now for low voltage, I've got a Cat 5, I'm sorry, a Cat 5, yeah, Cat 5 and a RG6 running into that socket there. And that plug behind there is actually for a TV. So I've got plans to put a TV there, and then I'll show you some other stuff too before I do any kind of drywalling. I'm gonna put some blocking in there, and I'll talk about that when I do that before drywall. I ran two Cat 5s behind the control panel where it's gonna be. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing later. I might do the brew control or some of the other, you know, I never know what's coming up. So I ran 2 Cat 5 cables there. I had plenty of cables, so I'm kind of trying to future-proof myself there and put two outlets behind there for Cat 5 so I could run, you know, a Raspberry Pi and a controller or whatever. Over here I've got another light that's going to be over top of the sink. The sink's going to be right here. If you follow us on social media, you've seen the sink that's been sitting here. So I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing with the hood lighting yet. I might drill some holes in the top and put some glass discs in there that I can shine light down through over the kettles, but I'm not 100% sure. So I just left myself some wire up here, and it won't be live until I get it figured out, but that's that. Over here, light switch for those lights, and then right here is going to be a plug because the sink has like a drain board on the side. I'm going to actually have a plug up here so that I can plug in like my Mark II keg washer, or if there's something else, a pump that I need to plug in or whatever, I'll have something right there by the sink and by the water. So obviously put a, you know, GFI breaker in that, or not, or a GFI plug at least. Same thing over here. I've got plans for another TV over here, so put in a power outlet, and then also RG6 and Cat 5 cable there. I just like a wired connection, like I said earlier in the video. And then as far as the storage area goes, it's on a separate circuit on its own. The only thing that's on the circuit that is not in the storage area is that TV right there. I just kind of tied it in with it because it was easy to run it there. So that is pretty much it. So you know, we're gonna keep going on this and doing some more drywall work here after this. Actually, before I do the drywall work, I've got to do some plumbing work. So I've got to drop the drains, you know, bring the drains up out of the wall. I've got to put in the supply lines for the sink, and then also the sink that's over top of the kettles right here. I'm going to be putting, like right about in this area here, there's going to be a pull-out faucet. If you follow us on social media, you've seen that. Up here is the pigtail kind of, or the wire for the fan. I'll have to port that outside, and then this is the switch for that fan. So put a speed controller on it, and that'll be controlled that way. So made a lot of progress. Everything's coming together, so I'm really excited about it. And I'm shooting this on Saturday, and I'm hoping to get some drywall in today. So keep watching, keep following us on social media. I do updates there all the time. And you know, if you got any questions about anything that I did, or comments, I know there'll be comments. Leave them down in the comment section below. Again, this has been Brian for Short Circuited Brewers, showing you how to build a bar and brewery in your basement. We'll see you on the next video.